Let me tell you something most people never stop to consider. The majority of failures in life don't come from lack of effort, talent, or even opportunity. No, they come from a far more silent, dangerous source. The absence of a clearly defined target. People fail, not because they can't win, but because they never decided what winning actually looks like for them. They move through life like ships without rudders, pushed around by tides of opinion, trends, and the expectations of others. They wake up, go to work, chase promotions, earn more, buy more, and yet feel empty. Why? Because they never pause to ask, what is success to me? You see, real success is never one size fits all. Yet many people live as if it is. They borrow definitions from culture, from family, from social media, without ever testing whether those ideals match their inner values. One man's idea of success may be creating a life of peace and freedom. Another may crave influence, impact, and legacy. Both are valid, but when a man who longs for peace chases the chaos of status, or a woman who desires influence hides behind a quiet life out of fear, they're destined for failure, not because they're incapable, but because they're misaligned. Napoleon Hill was right when he said, definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. Without it, the mind is fragmented. You cannot summon focused desire if your heart is uncertain of the goal. And if your desire is fractured, your actions will be too. You'll drift from job to job, from opportunity to opportunity, always hoping the next step leads you to something meaningful, but never quite finding it. This is why so many people fall into the trap of working tirelessly, yet feeling like they're going nowhere. It's not that they're lazy, it's that they're climbing a ladder, leaning against the wrong wall. They achieve goals that don't satisfy them, they collect trophies that don't inspire them, and eventually they stop striving, not from failure, but from burnout and disillusionment. So, what does it take to break this pattern? It starts with brutal clarity. You must ask yourself the questions that scare most people. What do I truly want? What matters to me? Not to my parents, not to my friends, not to society, but to me, I ask. And then you must write that answer down. Make it tangible. Define it so clearly that no distraction, no disappointment, no criticism can pull you off course. Because once you have that inner blueprint, your mind goes to work aligning everything toward it. Your habits, your focus, your energy. And here's where the real shift happens. Once you've defined success on your own terms, you stop comparing yourself to others. Their wins no longer feel like your losses. Their path no longer makes you question yours. You become a master of your journey, not a wanderer in theirs. This kind of clarity doesn't just help you succeed, it gives you peace. It protects you from the poison of envy, from the anxiety of the unknown, from the paralysis of indecision. It transforms your ambition into something sustainable, something deeply fulfilling. And in the process, it turns you into the kind of person who doesn't just chase success, but embodies it. So let me leave you with this. If you don't define success for yourself, someone else will. And when you reach their version of success, it won't feel like victory. It'll feel like regret. Define your win, own your path, and from that foundation, build the kind of life that bends the world toward your vision. Now, ask yourself, have you truly defined what success means for you, or are you still chasing shadows? Most people fail not because they lack the ability, but because they lack consistency. They start with fire, but they don't finish with focus. You'll see them at the beginning of a new goal, excited, motivated, full of dreams and vision, but come back in a few weeks, a few months. And where are they? Distracted, frustrated. They've let the spark die out before the flame could build into something powerful. Here's what separates those who succeed from those who don't: the willingness to keep showing up when the mood to do so has long past. The winners of life aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They are the ones who make a decision and then align their habits day in and day out, regardless of how they feel. They treat their goals like non-negotiables. Success isn't something they pursue when it's convenient. It becomes a lifestyle, a standard. You have to understand that motivation is fleeting. It's like a sugar rush, intense but short-lived. Relying on it to carry you through the marathon of life is like trying to sail across the ocean with a paper sail. What you need instead is discipline. Discipline is the steel that holds the structure of your success together. It doesn't care if you're tired, it doesn't wait for inspiration, it just does the work quietly, consistently, powerfully, and that's where most people fall apart. They expect the journey to feel good the whole time, but the truth is the process of growth, real growth, is often boring, repetitive, lonely. You're doing the same thing over and over again. And most days there's no applause, no instant result, no one watching. It's just you and the work. And that's when the mind starts whispering, is it even worth it? Let me be clear. That voice is the test. That voice is the threshold between mediocrity and mastery. The ones who push past that voice, who ignore the temptation to quit or switch paths, they are the ones who rise. Because every time you act in alignment with your goal, despite not feeling like it, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. That identity gets stronger, more rooted, and eventually it becomes who you are. Napoleon Hill said, persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. Without it, you'll remain soft, fragile, easily broken by discomfort. But with it, you become unshakable. And let me tell you, once you become a person who is consistent in the face of adversity, the world cannot stop you. It may slow you down, it may throw obstacles in your path, but it cannot deny you, because success doesn't go to the talented, it goes to the disciplined. The truth is, success is not a single decision. It's 1,000 small decisions made over time. To get up early when you'd rather sleep in, to say no to distractions, to stay focused on your vision when everything around you feels chaotic. And those decisions compound. They build momentum, they'll forge character. So if you're wondering why you haven't achieved what you say you want, don't look at your ambition, look at your consistency. Ask yourself, oh, do I do what I say I will do? Do I keep going, even when no one is watching? Do I stay faithful to the process, or do I chase the next shiny idea the moment things get hard? Because in the end, the people who win in life are not the ones who start strong. They are the ones who keep going when it's no longer exciting. Decide now that you will be consistent, even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, especially when no one is cheering. That's where the breakthrough happens. That's where your greatness is born. If you truly want to understand why most people fail and how you can win, you need to grasp one critical truth. Most people are living by reaction, not by design. They wake up and immediately react to life. Their environment dictates their mood, their notifications dictate their attention. Their failures define their identity, and then they wonder why they never feel in control. The winners, they operate differently. They choose their response before the world gets a chance to define it for them. They decide who they want to be, and then they act like it even when it's inconvenient. They don't let their emotions control their outcomes. They don't let circumstances decide how they show up. They live by intention, not impulse. The difference lies in one word: responsibility. Not in the way most people understand it, not as blame or obligation. No, I'm talking about responsibility as responsibility. Your ability to choose, your responsibility to control your inner world even when the outer world is chaos. That is power. That is ownership, and that is what most people avoid. You see, it's easier to blame than to build. It's easier to say, I couldn't do it because of them, because of this, because, oh, if that's how the average mind operates. It's always pointing outward, always assigning the cause to something else. But the moment you take full ownership, not just of your actions, but of your reactions, you stop being a victim. You start being the architect. That shift is the foundation of personal power. It's the point where excuses die and results begin. Because now you're no longer reacting to the world. You're shaping it. You're not waiting to be told what's possible. Redeciding it, and with that mindset, you become dangerous to anything that tries to stop you. Here's what Napoleon Hill understood better than most. Your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, they are tools, not truths. You get to wield them. But if you don't master them, they'll master you. That's why most people stay stuck. They're still letting their fears, their doubts, and their moods hold the steering wheel. They don't realize they're rehanding over their life to the weakest parts of themselves. When you start operating from responsibility, something amazing happens. Clarity returns. You stop being scattered. You start becoming focused instead of chasing 10 things half-heartedly. You pursue one thing with full force. Instead of needing external motivation, You generate internal momentum. That shift internal to external will change the patuity of your life. But let me be clear. Responsibility is not easy. It demands brutal honesty. E forces you to face the truth about your habits, your patterns, and your choices. It strips away the illusions, but it also gives you something far more valuable: freedom. Because once you own it all, your failures, your missteps, your delays, you also own the power to change it. So here's the question: are you living by design or by default? Are you responding with clarity and purpose, or reacting out of fear and habit? Your answer to that question will tell you everything about where you are, and two, everything about how far you can go. Remember this: life doesn't owe you success, but it will respond to your consistency, your responsibility, and your ownership every time. Here is what you must understand: most people never win because they never finish. They start strong, full of excitement and vision, but somewhere along the road they stop. Sometimes it's a distraction, sometimes it's discouragement, often it's just discomfort. But they stop, and that pause, that hesitation becomes a habit, a pattern, a lifestyle. Before they know it, quitting is their default setting, and mediocrity becomes acceptable. Success is not about how fast you begin, it's about how deeply you commit, how much you are willing to endure in the space between starting and succeeding. That's where most people lose a game, not at the starting line, not even at the finish line, but in that long, uncertain, lonely middle, the moment when the excitement is gone and the grind has set in. Let's be clear, the middle is what makes you, that's where you're either forged or forgotten. That's where doubt creeps in, where fear whispers maybe you're not the one. And if you're not grounded in purpose, if you haven't developed endurance, you'll believe that voice, you'll back away from the very thing that was about to change your life. Napoleon Hill emphasized this over and over again. Persistence is to character what carbon is to steel. You can have talent, you can have intelligence, you can even have vision. But if you don't stay in the game long enough for those things to bear fruit, ID means nothing. The world doesn't reward what you could have done, it rewards what you finished. People don't fail because they lack ability, they fail because they lack endurance. They can handle a sprint, but success is a marathon, a psychological, emotional, spiritual marathon that tests you not once, but again and again. And you don't pass by proving you're perfect. You pass by refusing to quit when everything in you wants to. That's the separator. That's what draws the line between the few who rise and the many who fall. It's not luck, it's not timing, it's not connections, it's grit, that raw, unglamorous, invisible quality of showing up every day, especially when no one is watching, especially when you don't feel like it, especially when the rewards aren't visible yet. Why do most people stop? Because they were taught that success should be fast, easy, comfortable, but real growth doesn't happen in comfort, it happens in pressure. The pressure to keep going when your emotions don't cooperate. The pressure to believe when you have every reason to doubt. The pressure to act when your legs are shaking. You don't rise by being comfortable. You rise by becoming resilient. You rise when you realize that pain isn't the enemy. It's the proof that you're in the right place, doing the right work, facing the right resistance. If you're not challenged, you're not changing. If it's too easy, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're slowly dying inside. Even if everything looks fine on the outside, even when it's hard, even when it feels like no one sees you, because that's what greatness demands. That's what your future self is counting on. And one can begin. Very few complete. Don't let your story be a chapter of unfinished intentions. Let it be a declaration of finished purpose. The ones who win are not the ones who feel the best. They're the ones who keep showing up long after the feeling has left.